Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Caroline Hill. I'm Editor-in-Chief of Legal IT Insider and welcome to Litera TV. I have the pleasure today to be joined by Maria Jesus Gonzalez Espejo, Vice President of ILSA and Managing Partner of Instituto de Innovación Legal. Hi Maria.
Hi Caroline, thank you for inviting me to this chapter of Litera TV.
Thank you so much for joining me and forgive my horrible British vowels.
Beginner is rather good, by the way.
Thank you so much. So Maria, so just to you're going to have a fabulous conversation today. We're going to talk about you've launched a new alliance, which is to foster innovation within universities and other educational facility faculties across the globe. Actually, so we'll come on to talk about that, which is called ILSA. Which stands for Innovation in Law Studies Alliance. But just to introduce you properly, so you this year were awarded the status of just one of 5, there are more, but you had the accolade of being awarded one of the top 5 influential women in tech by ILSA. So congratulations on that, and I'll come on to ask you a little bit about that. So you are a lawyer, you are evangelist, you've been working to transform the legal sector in Spain and obviously throughout Europe as part of ILTA, and I've attended your conferences. The ILTA conference was great. It's quite new, isn't it? But it's it brought people from all around the globe to the last conference. And you have introduced design thinking in Spain. I could go on actually, Maria, but so when did you start? You started out as a solicitor, is that right? You specialised in IP.
Well, yes, it was so long ago. My God.
So long ago.
When I was 22 years old, I was working in European law. So my first jobs were more related to European law. Then I evolved into in-house lawyering, and then I moved into staff. I became the general coordinator of now one of the biggest Spanish law firms. At that time, they were small. There were 27 lawyers, Pérez Yorca. So I work in the knowledge management, marketing, and human resources fields for them. And then is when I discovered the dark side of law, you know, the staff and the support services, but I love it. And I have stayed in the dark side because I think that besides being a lawyer, I love law. I think I enjoy so much strategy and communications and technology that I could not live anymore being only a lawyer, you know. So I'm not a lawyer anymore. In fact, I even quit from the bar because I thought it was nonsense to keep on paying my fee when I was not thinking of practicing. I keep on reading a lot about law. I need to do it in order to advise my clients properly. But where I have my talents, I think, if I have any, is probably the combination of, let's say, looking at the future, understanding client needs, and using strategy, technology, and communication to create things, no? And that's what I like doing.
And that's so let's talk about that now, because that's what you do. Tell me, before we go on to talk about the new alliance, tell me about the company. So Instituto de Innovación Legal. So tell me about what you for people who aren't familiar with what you do, tell us a bit more about that and the type of work that you're doing.
Okay, so this is a consultancy. It was set up as a company in the year 2016, although since 2014, I was already advising from my other initial consultancy company, which now I'm more or less closing because I have switched completely into digital transformation, innovation, and legal tech. So what we do, 4 things: training. So we do a lot of teaching, conferences, courses, also writing. Then we do information. So we have created a product that I think is quite interesting. It's called Comparador-Legal Tech, which is a directory or a compilation of the legal tech that has a Spanish version. So what we try to do is create this tidy, organized thing where if you are looking for a tool for data protection or compliance or automation of documents, you can just look in there and they are classified and you can have sort of basic information and reach the companies. Then we also do advice. So what I have normally is a limited amount of clients for which I work. And if I have to choose how to work with them, I like when they hire me to do a strategy with the partners and then deploy it. I do all kind of stuff. Very often they call me because they want to do business development or they want to do better marketing. But in the end, as you probably know, in law firms, the key factor is people. And I very often have to start with people's career, people's remuneration, people's training, people's capacity to adapt to new goals. Once we get into that, we normally jump into website stuff, social network, and a change of mindset. We also train them to become better salespeople because lawyers, as you know, reject being in sales. They also reject being in customer care. And nowadays they need to be, beside good lawyers, also good sales and aftercare professionals. So once we do that, we normally jump into innovation because I love it. And I think that the type of clients that hire me are very often not big law firms, but medium-sized and small ones with ambition. And in most cases, I notice that they have no unique selling proposition. They are just, you know, 1, 2, 3 good professionals that have ambition and work hard and have some good network. But that is not enough anymore, and they know it. So we need to analyze very well how to create something unique. And that's really tough because they always want to stay, I mean, they are making their money in one way, and like becoming specialized in something or jumping into legal tech, for instance, is such a change that they don't dare to do it. So, you know, it's like, it takes like 1, 2 years. And I always like start with experiments. I can give you some examples. That's the normal thing. Sometimes I'm lucky and I'm hired by law firms that really want to do something. They have a clear idea, but that's weird. I'm working now for a Colombian law firm, and they called me and they knew already what they wanted. This guy is the managing partner of Acuña and Bermúdez, and he wanted to have a claims company, online claims company in Colombia. So I have been working with them, like reviewing their plan, helping them to create something feasible, then looking for the technology, negotiating with them the acquisition of the technology and setting up the website and the whole platform behind it. And now we are working in the marketing. So it will be now, in fact, I think it's already accessible. It's called Legal Fule, Legal Fule, LEGALFULLE, and that's from Colombia. A second project which has been interesting is Afiance Legal, and that's it was a law firm 2 years ago. This lady, Lorena Salamanca, hired me, and now they're an ALSP, one of the biggest in Spain. They work for very big law firms mainly, and for some real estate funds, and what they do is the whole process of social secretariat. So they do everything, and we have mixed several platforms, one from Holland, one from the UK, and then traditional Microsoft stuff and so, and they're doing very, very well. So that's Afiance Legal.
Did they start, sorry if I misunderstood. So did you help them transform into an ALSP?
Yes. In fact,
they started, what did they start as? So they started as a law firm? Or?
No. You know, Caroline, I think that vocabulary in this field is, let's say, not, how would you say that? Not univoc, can you say that in English? I mean, if I say ALSP,
yeah.
you say ALSP, I don't know if we mean the same. If I
Right,
say
uniform. So, or
uniform,
standardized. Yeah, yeah. They said there's not right. Okay.
okay, same stuff.
Yeah.
If I say legal tech, do you
Yeah.
mean the same when I say legal tech?
I think there's a massive misunderstanding, or there's a massive difference in. So, a lot of people perceive legal tech to be the newer AI, whatever you call it, stuff. Whereas, and I see that as well, but there's obviously a massive, big wider definition, which is all of the back end systems and everything. So yeah, 100%, we have very different. But yeah, but you've helped them to ALS, but I think you've helped them to streamline and put tech at the center of their offering. What did you say the name of the company firm was?
This one is called Affiance Legal. So
Yeah.
AFIENS
Yeah.
Legal. So in fact, they were already an ALSP, but they were not calling themselves as such.
Okay.
Because in Spain, let's say that we have ALSP since ever. Normally, law firms would do the nice part of the work, and for the easy part, the commodity, we use something called gestorías.
Yeah.
That gestorías for us is your ALSP.
Okay.
But gestorías are very traditional. So this lady who used to work as a lawyer, but always behind the scenes, she was doing already for years the easy stuff or the stuff that law firms don't want to do because it's for them it's not profitable. So what we have done, she already had all the templates, all the workflows defined. So we have looked for technology which would allow her to do everything in an automatic way, create an extranet where her clients can just get in and create their own stuff and look for their own papers. So that's what she's offering now, this full service company secretariat.
That's really cool. So I'm going to move on to ILSA only because what we're planning, if there's time, once we've talked about ILSA, is to ask you. So you made some forecasts at the end of 2019 about the legal tech market in Spain. So we're going to revisit a few of those points, which obviously you made the forecast before COVID hit, and obviously no. It's funny how nothing makes sense anymore unless you mention COVID, right? There's no history that makes sense without COVID. So we're gonna talk about ILSA, and then I'm going to come on to some of the points and just sort of find out from you how it actually happened in 2020. So ILSA, so it's really new. So new to us anyway. I know you've been thinking about this and you've been working on it a lot behind the scenes. So it's as I said at the beginning, it's an alliance to foster tech innovation in legal training faculties globally. And so tell us a bit about it. So tell us, about sort of the progress you're already making with it and what the ambition is.
Okay. Already 3-4 years ago, I was very worried because I was noticing that technology had to get into the university. I was a teacher. I was training at a private university called ICADE, and I was noticing that my students, though they belonged to the generation of digital native people, they were not very much into the things that they should be, like apps and blogs and websites. So I was very worried about that. And then suddenly I read that in the States, I think it was in Boston, this university had done a hackathon. And that word was what changed me. I thought, what is this of a hackathon? It sounds like they are insulting me, but this is something for sure interesting. So I read, and then it was my dream, app developers together with law professionals making tools to improve justice. So I have, I'm a balance in the horoscope, and I have this sort of like, I need to change the world and make a better world. So for me, it was the solution. Then I went to the dean of my university. He thought I was completely nuts. So what he did is he told me, go to the tech dean, and if he says yes, the engineers say yes, I will say yes. I went back and forward. Nobody paid attention to me, but I'm a lucky lady. So suddenly,
you're persistent lady.
The Minister of Justice had just a new advisors for innovation, and I knew him. So I went with my project, which was already designed in a PowerPoint. I told him my project, and he said, I love it. we can put it in the minister plan. We will support you. You can use our logo. And since I had their logo, I got support. So I raised 24,000 euros to make a hackathon. But I have to confess, Caroline, that I have no idea of how to make a hackathon. So that was my second problem. I was sweating, because my sponsors were like Banco of Santander and Amazon. And, I got really fantastic sponsors, but how do you make a hackathon? There was no book of how to make a hackathon. So, again, I was lucky. I visited the people of BBVA, and they were nice, and they gave me an Excel, which had a sort of project manager with all the tasks. That gave me some hints. Then I visited the people of IBM. They also told me some things. In the end, I know that nobody knew how to organize a hackathon. So I invented my own hackathon, and it went very well. I got 50 participants, I got judges, I got lawyers, I got students. It was horrible to get developers, but I made a sort of joint venture with a guy that organizes a community called Hackathon Lovers, and he's a developer. So they helped me. So
when was this, Maria? When did this take place again?
It was in 2014.
It's a long time. Yeah.
Okay. Long time ago.
Yeah.
So I got so burned out. I was completely burned out after this, but I knew that this was for me. This is my field. I want to become an expert. So in 2014, I decided this is going to be my field. But of course I had to eat, and I couldn't stop my other business because, this was no way to make enough money from a field where nobody believed. So this has been a tough way to walk, but I'm very happy I did it, and I had a vision at that time, and it was the right vision. Now I am fully convinced that this is it.
So this is how you end up with launching the Alliance, right? So this is the history. So now the Alliance is more. I mean, I'm sure you you probably end up doing more hackathons, but the Alliance is actually it's about training. It's about, there's different programs, aren't there, in terms of helping to educate the educators as much as anything else, right? So because actually without the educators having the knowledge, you can't educate the students. And it's amazing how this is a complaint everywhere across including in the UK. This is a global complaint, which is that the legal training establishments have not kept up, and there are lots of different reasons in different jurisdictions, but actually we're kind of running out of excuses, I think, right? Like the students need to come into law firms knowing more than Snapchat and more than Instagram. And actually we're doing clients a disservice. And I think that eventually clients are going to, our clients are already sort of trying to work out themselves, and there are different things going on in terms of trying to help students become more educated. But so the Alliance, and you've got now, I think it's 15 global
I think we have
universities. Is it more already? That's because it's more since we last spoke, which is a few days ago.
No, it's that when we sent the press release, it was 15, but since we sent the press release, 2 more or so said that they want to join. But we have universities from Ecuador, Colombia, from Mexico, from South Africa, Poland, France, Holland, Russia. I'm probably forgetting Chile. Chile is the last one who told me that they are probably joining. So we don't need 20 more. In fact, it's going to be difficult to handle all this number. But you were asking me why ILSA. Okay, I finished the hackathon, and then what I learned from that hackathon is that this is the best way to learn about innovation, technology, etc. You can buy a book on legal tech and you can read the book, but you won't be able to understand what means having a digital mindset unless you do things. So you have to do things with your hands. You have to sit down with developers, with user design experience or user experience people, and you have to try yourself to develop a tool or implement a tool or buy a tool. But unless you really do hands-on, you are not going to learn about this field. And then secondly, the world is flat. It was not me who said it, but it's a global world, and the world has universal challenges. e-business, which is nowadays more or less every business. I mean, before it used to be e-commerce and e-traveling and three more things and e-gaming. Now we notice that everything is e because there is no other possibility. Well, all this e-business is bringing in new challenges, and they're all global. And the legal professionals are being trained locally. That's a real problem. So what we want to do with ILSA is put the universities together so that their students can solve global challenges and work together with technology. I think that's
Really interesting.
and hands-on. So
Yeah.
those are the four ingredients:
Okay.
global,
That
technology,
sorry.
teams, and hands-on. Yeah.
I love
think
that because these days clients, particularly of the bigger firms, that's exactly like the global firms. That's the way they need to operate, right? There needs to be much more joined up, and technology enables you to do that, right? Technology is a great unifier if you understand how to use it. So that's great that they're being sort of given that exposure in advance, and also that I guess there's that teamwork, which I love. There are a couple of initiatives like that where people are being encouraged to communicate across different time zones and across sort of with different cultures. And so is it operating in English, because I guess you've got so many different languages there?
Well, yes, at the beginning, I thought it was going to be more of a Spanish initiative, but then I realized that the nice thing was if it was international, and then English is the language. So at the moment, we have bilingual, Spanish, English. It's costing us a lot of effort, but hopefully we can stay that way.
Okay.
At least 2 languages, and maybe in the future in more, but at least these 2.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about ILSA? I'm dying to, I mean, we're going to run out of time because you and I can talk. We know this. But do you want to say anything more about ILSA before I take you to some of your predictions? We're not going to.
I just invite legal tech companies to have a look, because we want them to be partnering with us and offering training to the students, because we think that students should be certified in the handle of tools.
Yes, because okay, we should mention this. Okay, so let me just summarize it quickly. So there's going to be an ILSA. So there are vendors already involved there, and you want more vendors potentially. So you've got HiQ, and then you've got the Spanish document automation vendor called DocEspresso, and then the Russian company. Yeah. So and then you want other vendors potentially to be, HiQ, sort of the platform that you're running a lot of it from.
And other universities, so that they can collaborate and start understanding how such a platform works.
Yes, it's very cool. And then so you're going to offer a seal, although so you're operating a kind of freemium model initially. So there'll be certain things which are available to start with. It's all free, but obviously next year you've got to eat. You're introducing a fee, but there'll be like a freemium model, and the seal will be available to those people who are actually members. So if you signed up, you can get the ILSA seal.
And the seal will be only for those universities who sign an agreement and fulfill certain requirements after 1 year. So if they promise that they would do activities with 2 or 3 other universities, something of social corporate responsibility, this kind of stuff. They are public. They are in our website.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about so at the end of 2019, I read some forecasts of yours for the legal tech market in Spain. And little did you know what was coming. And you said your predictions were that 2020 would be a year of consolidation and growth for legal tech. So I've got lots of questions. We're not going to be able to have time for me to kind of ask them all, I think. But so I want to know how law firms in Spain, how your perception in terms of how they've coped with the shift to remote working, how have they continued to invest in technology, and what's it looked like in terms of have they risen to the challenge of digitization in your opinion?
Well, the pandemic has changed everything, and has changed it for good in the field of innovation and legal technology. Suddenly, all law firms had virtual meetings, for instance. In Spain, we have a very presentialist culture. I don't know if you use that word.
Very what culture?
What do you say?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Very what culture?
We say in Spanish, presencialismo. It means that the timetables for law firm, for lawyers, were terrible. arriving at between 9 and 10 and leaving at the earlier at 9, 10 at night. That's a normal timetable here in Spain for lawyers of the, let's say, top rank law firms. Well, you know, now suddenly these lawyers are working from home. I think for some people this is not very good because, you know, here in Spain we have lunches, very long lunches, and then sometimes if you are you don't have a family, very often you go for a drink after you work, so you spend the whole day outside. So imagine this has been for us. Well, we have a very like old style way of managing as well. So very hierarchical organizations and a lot of control. So I guess that for a lot of law firms, this has been really terrible because control in virtual working is not easy unless you put surveillance cameras in the computers of your employees, which, by the way, I know of some companies that have done it here. I'm not going to say the name, but some companies have some devices that suddenly can check whether you are working at a certain working time. To me, it's amazing, but that exists.
Gosh, that seems to throw up all kinds of issues, but
So I think that a lot of law firms probably are struggling because leadership is very difficult in online virtual leadership. I think is very difficult.
Did they have the, sorry to interrupt you, did they have the, in many, I mean, it's very hard to generalize. Obviously, you've got some huge firms in Spain, which are very, very, you know, technically advanced, like the you know, the really big Iberian firms, and you've got some of the big four, like actually Spain, you're quite similar to the UK in many ways, aren't you? And you've been amongst the biggest firms. They're pretty sort of tech forward, but obviously, so it's hard to generalize. But do you think that in terms of the shift to home working, was it in terms of the underlying tech and the ability to shift to working from home, was it a struggle for firms? Is it, I guess it's hard to generalize, but do you think a lot of them, presumably a lot of them, didn't have the arrangements in place in order for them to do that?
No, the funny thing is that most of the firms had the technology, the necessary technology for that, because they had already got cloud systems for their documents, and they had already Teams, and you know, they had already the technology. But one thing, I mean, virtual working is not only about the technology. I think that virtual thing has a lot to do with conditions of work. It has a lot to do with leadership, in virtual leadership. It has a lot to do with in general the whole service delivery. And I think that in that respect, law firms were not ready. Like nobody was more or less ready, unless you were like me, and a small company working already partly from home. Then you were ready, because for me it has changed. But that's not.
Are they focusing more on workflow? So in terms of, like, are they sort of looking at? I see in the UK there's a lot of focus on, you know, what proper workflow tools to work out where the work is, including slowly but so a lot to do with the back end support, but actually increasingly people wanting to monitor, you know, what their fee earners are doing, because they can't just walk into the office anymore.
No, here is still quite messy, because also our government is changing its mind every week. So 1 week we have to be at home, then we can go to the bars, then the bars are closed, then we go back home. So, you know, at the moment, nobody, is not only law firms, nobody knows what is a good policy. So some law firms are trying their people to go back, but then somebody gets infected, and then you have to bring everybody home. So it's, at the moment, I think the most reasonable thing, and what a lot of law firms are doing, is just stay at home. And as far as I know, January, February are the dates that are being mentioned. But I think that a lot of people are going to cut costs, are going to get rid of offices, and a lot of people are going to stay working at home for good.
Is that right? I was going to ask you that, actually. So do you think that remote working is, have law firms, or, you know, the big four, whoever it is out there, it made any indication? Have they made any noises about this is actually here to stay?
I'm quite sure that this is going to stay. Quite sure for a lot of law firms. I guess that there will be new, let's say, kind of premises to see clients, like these share workspaces and things like that. But
Yeah.
you know, if you can work, if you have been working for months in this way, why should you go back
No, from a
to
cost
a
perspective.
way which costs you more money and for many reasons is less convenient?
Yeah. Do you know what, Maria? We're going to have to leave it there because it's we're on time. But it's such a pleasure chatting to you, and I look forward to hearing how ILSA's going. So let's catch up again soon.
Thank you so very much, Caroline. It was my
Thank
pleasure.
you. Lovely
Bye-bye.
talking to you. Thank you. Bye.